kind of some of the ground rules. Brian?
Thank you, Chairman. Good morning.
Morning.
Just want to welcome everyone to today's meeting. Once again, this meeting will be recorded. I would like to introduce a couple of housekeeping measures. To reduce the amount of background noise, please stay muted until you are ready to speak. At the time you are ready to speak, please state your name and affiliation for the record. I'll now start by taking roll, starting with the board members. After I say your name, please state here or present. I'll begin with Chairman McFoy.
Present.
Thank you. William Sunderland.
Present.
Deneen Jackson.
Present.
Ray Nosworthy.
Present.
Thank you, board members. I'll now move to other regular attendees. Angelica Morrison. Charlie Martirana.
Present by phone.
Sorry, this is Angelica. I'm present. I'm on like 2 meetings at a time, but hi guys.
Thank you, Angelica. Damon Rand.
Present.
Damon Sykes.
Present.
David Hill.
Present.
Thank you. Kelly Lieb.
Present.
Peter Merlo.
Present.
Fuad Arab.
Present.
Bill Ferguson.
Present.
Lisa Foti.
Present.
Jack McMahon.
Present.
Stephen Waldvogel.
Present.
Dustin Steiner.
Present.
John Davis. Beth Sheeler.
Present.
David Connors.
Present.
Nathan Martin.
Present.
Thank you. Matthew Adam.
Present.
Thank you. And I see a number ending in 1390. If you could please state your name for the record.
I don't know if that's me, but this is Doug Fultz with Veolia.
Thanks, Doug. That one's not you. Oh, that one's leaving. Okay. I believe I have everybody. If I missed anyone, please unmute your line and please state your name for the record so we can capture it for the meeting minutes.
Oh, yeah, this is John Davis with GHD. Sorry, I dropped off.
Thanks, John. Anybody else? All right, hearing no others, back to you, Chairman. Thank you.
All right, Brian, thank you very much. As we move forward with the agenda, our first item is always to make sure that we hear from our public. We have reserved in our agenda always is our public comment period. Are there anyone that would like to speak during this public comment period? We'll make sure to add you to the agenda. Okay, hearing no one. Then we'll move forward. Board, if you would, I would ask you to take a look at the agenda that we have before us today. Are there any additions, maybe some subtractions, or is the agenda fit for moving forward?
Motion to approve. Sunderland.
The motion to approve, is there a second?
Deneen, second.
So motion and properly seconded. Any further questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Sunderland, aye.
Deneen, aye.
Nosworthy, aye.
Unanimous, thank you. Item number 2 will be approval of the minutes from the meeting of January 10th, 2024. Board, if you would, please take this opportunity to review the minutes that were sent out previously for completeness.
Sunderland, motion to approve.
Deneen, second.
It's been motioned and properly seconded that we approve the minutes from our meeting of January 10th. Any further questions? Hearing none. All in favor?
Sunderland, aye.
Denine, aye.
Osworthy, aye.
Unanimous. Thank you very much. We'll now move on to item 3. Again, this is where we reserve time to hear from our public. This is a public comment period. Is there anyone who would like to speak at this time? Please raise your hand in the chat or speak up and we can acknowledge you.
Chairman, seeing none at this time.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, we will now proceed on to item number 4, which would be a staffing update. Turn that over to Mr. Merlo.
Thank you, Board. Peter Merlo, Secretary to the Board, Principal Engineer, Division of Water, DPW. We are meeting today with the Commissioner this afternoon to discuss staffing as in lieu of other challenges, including the MOU discussion. So that's going on today at 2. I'm not sure the latest updates in terms of the plus minuses. Dave, I don't know if you or I heard Doug's online. Do you have a latest update with the numbers?
Yes, sir. David Hill, Project Manager, Veolia. Not certain whether you could go to page 15 or not on the board report.
Give me a second.
However, we're basically positions held at this point to 83. We've got 57 vacant positions, roughly 59%. There has been some good progress down to customer service, Exchange Street. I believe we may be close to being full on our ACTs. And I know meter reader wise, we've got quite a few candidates now, and I think the spec was perhaps updated, which actually made it eligible for more people to qualify. So they're pouring through those. So hopefully we'll get some good news there soon. We did have electrician departure, electrician, and most recently the water treatment supervisor has placed her resignation.
Understood. Okay, and we're meeting this afternoon specifically on the MOU as well as the rest of the staff.
I believe that's going to be part of the discussion, and Commissioner, I think we'll be talking about that as well as other personnel issues, correct?
That is correct, Peter. Yes.
All right, guys. Thank you very much. Any questions, board? None. We'll move on to item number 5, residual system improvement project time extension. Mr. Merlo.
Yes, thank you. Peter Merlo, Secretary to the Board, Principal Engineer, DPW. We're asking for a contract extension for our lagoon or the residuals rehabilitation project. This is the lagoon has been constructed. It's been a wonderful tool in terms of storing the solids, the stuff that we move from the lake. There's a final piece. We're looking to install a pump station that allows us to collect the solids from our settling basins and pump those directly into our lagoon. Previously, it's been a manual process that has been labor intensive, very difficult for staff, challenging. However, we have an operation that's efficient, but it's still very labor intensive and cumbersome because we have to install pumps on the outside. If you know our settling basins and those manholes, manually moving those pumps into the basins, pumping them out into the lagoon. This will allow us to capture that and then pump that directly into the lagoon. We have the pumps in place, the manholes in wonderful structural condition. There's just been some issues. It's 40 feet deep. There's some fill at the bottom of it. We're working with it to make sure. The most difficult challenge with that is just getting the environment safe for operation in a working environment, making sure it's water, making sure you have the proper equipment. Every time we send someone down there, I believe we have Buffalo Fire on site in case we have to evacuate. So the type of construction is very difficult, and hence the reason for the extension. The contract's moving. We want to get this done. We believe going to June 30th will satisfy the requirements to move this project forward.
So, questions on, is this just a timing piece for the need for the extension, or was there like materials that took too long kind of getting over?
Oh, it's a little bit of both. This project, most of it was the lagoon, the liner. That had a critical timeline a year ago to get that built before the sud sleeves, and that was constructed. We've been waiting for basically all this season to get the other pieces built, which are the electrical components, lighting the basins, some updates to panels in the low lift, as well as this sludge pumping equipment, including the rehabilitation. So that's where some of the equipment gets. It ties in along lead times. Anytime you're talking electrical equipment, especially low, high voltage, even normal voltage and stuff that's operating your equipment or your SCADA can have along lead line challenges. But it's as much the work required and the approach that we're taking that has been a delay as much as the equipment on this one. I think right now the pumps are in-house, equipment's in-house.
It's a complicated area.
Yeah.
And it requires a lot of planning and safety measures.
Did we send the drone down there yet? No. Is that gonna happen, or I'm just something that we're trying to utilize an existing drone that we can't fly in there because it can't navigate in that tight space, but we're trying to lower it because of the camera capabilities, so. Okay, see, I'm trying to spread some good news here, man. I'm just kidding. That's all good, thank you. See, we're getting there. It's just a slow process.
Got it. So, just delays,
Yeah.
and we're, no cost extension, time extension.
There was a subsequent increase that this board approved at a previous meeting, and we're gonna try to line these up going forward to have the time extension along with any time increase for construction inspection. Because typically they go hand in hand.
All right, so they will not be finished on leap year day. They're gonna take it all the way to June 30th.
Correct.
All right, is there a motion to approve time extension recommended by our consultant, Arcadis, and concurred by our principal engineer for 122 days, extending it to June 30th, 2024?
Deneen, so moved.
Sunderland, second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any further questions on the item? Hearing none, all in favor?
Deneen, aye.
Sunderland, aye. Osworthy, aye.
Unanimous. We'll now move on to item number 6, water cut, which we're looking for a time extension as well. Mr. Merlo.
Correct. On this contract, this is the existing water cut contract. We have basically an annual contract that's funded either with bond funds or through O&M funds allocated to make sure we meet that, because bond funds aren't always annual. So make sure we meet that commitment, because our cuts are happening all the time. David, how many breaks on average, if you said we have a year?
Put them on the spot.
Well, give me a rule of thumb, plus or minus 100.
One a day.
One a day. 350.
So you're talking 4, sometimes 500. So say 400 cuts a year that have to be rehabilitated full depth. It has to be rehabilitated in its full depth restoration. So these are the cuts, and we're about not even a season behind now. Remember, several years ago, we were probably 5 years behind. We caught up. We're catching them. Then we have an existing contract ready to go that we're finalizing now. We're working through with the low bid. There's some issues with the MBE and the WB, but we're working with the contractor to get that going. So that'll be for this season going. This is last year's contract. There's some work. Most of this work, I believe, is concrete work. And they did all the paving, the concrete work. They ran out of time. And I actually asked the contractor, because he can end the contract right now per the timing of it, but he's doing us a favor because this is work we want done. We get a lot of calls. These are the few ones that come in. This is around residents. This is their curbs, sidewalks. This is that stuff. And this is the first work we're going to be doing in the spring. This is Destro. We'll make sure it gets done, but we need the time extension to make that happen to June 30th.
All right, we're still holding, he's still holding this.
Yeah, and this did
Right.
not have an increase, a subsequent increase in inspection, because we already have the inspection lined up for our next water cut contract going into the spring, so we can roll. This is just, he's going to be overseeing both contracts because it's the same consultant.
Okay.
So every once in a while, I do come with good news.
All right, so this is just a motion to approve as recommended by our consultant Wendell and concurred by our principal engineer for our 2022 citywide water cut restoration program, and that's for our contractor Destro and Brothers Concrete.
Correct.
Motion to approve.
Deneen, so moved.
Sunderland, second.
Motion and properly seconded. Any further questions on the item? Hearing none. All in favor?
Deneen, aye.
Sunderland, aye. Osworthy, aye.
Unanimous. Thank you very much. We'll now move on to item number 7, water distribution, various locations, CARI.
Yes.
Mr. Merlo.
Peter Merlo, principal engineer, secretary to the board. Up here is an increase to Donato's contract. They are managing 2 construction contracts, probably valued at about $12 million. We are going into the spring. These projects, for a variety of reasons, these were bid rate post-pandemic supply issues. This is taking longer than expected. We anticipated this. I had this budgeted in there, but we didn't budget the CARI, we just do that by season. So we're into the next season. Most of this you can see is 2 contracts. Most of it is CA services for each contract. That's billed as needed. This is a guess at the number of hours. We're talking 200 hours each just to get there. If we use less, they don't, it goes back in our coffers. If we use more, I come back to you and say, hey, for this reason, we need to extend it. So this is a snapshot, but this allows our construction management services on these 2 to continue. These are highly customer intensive projects. These are all replacing lead services. We're into the homes. We're working with the contract. These inspectors, I think, are working great, coordinating with 120 Water to make sure we get the information in there, make sure we're following up with the testing afterward. So far, so good. Again, these are budgeted. I've anticipated these costs. They weren't in the original contract because I do it by season. I win a break, I'm coming in now. That's why you're gonna see several of these. All 4 contracts are in the same place. The good news is they're moving. We're about 50%.
All right, that's a great.
You haven't gotten a lot of calls.
Question for you on the design of an additional 1,000 linear feet
Yes.
on Lilac. Speak on that.
Okay, what we've done here is when we worked and tried to, the consultants come up with the unit quantities to pay for the services, because what this contract is new is all the services going in to every home. So you're talking 30 to maybe 50 linear feet per home. You got to pay for that unit quantity, so many feet of this, so many feet of that. So we estimated based on our wonderful records and our tap cards. So not knowing exactly, we took a shot. I think they estimated about 75% of the services would need to be replaced. So far, we're under that. So now people are getting nervous that we're going to have too much money, but that's a good problem. It's a problem that I think if left unspent, the contractor has the argument to say, hey, my bid, a certain amount, right. So we're looking at all our contracts. Is there another street that we can add on that makes sense on our list in the area? Let's get it designed and submit it. And then if we have money, we can direct the contractor there.
I'm going to ask you a question on this.
But this is just a design piece of that to get ready if we so choose to. If we have all this money, I think why not? And instead of.
No, that's perfect. That's not the question.
Keeps the contractor happy and working. We get our assets replaced. God, Lord knows we have plenty of them.
This is about our lead service lines and how many we are actually seeing when we go to replace, right? That's what you're saying. How are we getting that information back into our model and everything else like that?
That's a great question. What we're doing is we actually are requiring a lot from our consultants. I believe they submit weekly. And in fact, I'm going to turn over to Vlad to kind of, he's backing the coordination of this particular piece. And he understands the.
You're up, Vlad.
I'm Vlad Arab, Buffalo Water engineer. So what we've done before, and I've worked with Veolia and 120, we have created a spreadsheet that we gave all of our consultants that is based on our inspection work order, basically, and with added columns showing what was the existing material. Basically now what the consultants are overseeing a service replacement. Okay, on this date, we replaced the outside portion of the service from the tap to the box. It was existing lead, 20 feet at this depth. This is the location of the tap. This is the location of the box. These go back to Veolia and then get shared with 120. So it is documented.
And if it's an inside, it's the inside as well.
Of course, right. So I just gave the outside portion as an example. We're documenting everything that's being done. So it's all there. What was lead is being replaced entirely. What's copper, obviously we're leaving in. If there's a portion inside that's galvanized to the meter, we're replacing those and we're figuring out how to figure the meter in. So
we're doing a little bit of work in the house to make sure we're doing the right thing, not just dotting the I. It's the spirit of the law here.
Oh, that's what I want to hear. And then that.
And then you funded 120.
Right.
3 years. I think we're gonna have to revisit that, but that a little under 800,000 a year, it goes into their program. They're dotting the I's across the T's. They're making sure we are defendable. So they're following up with the testing and it's in there. So that's where the 120 piece kind of gives us, it manages the program correctly because the program is still developing. The regulations aren't out there, but we're following what we believe are going to be the new regulations. What we're doing now is not required.
Right.
What we're doing is what we think is going to be required. So we're ready to go.
So was that enough for you? Okay. All right, Pete, thank you guys. Wow, excellent. All right, so for this one, again, not to exceed on the CA RI side,
It's all not to exceed though, even everything. There's no lump sum on any change. So even the CA is office personnel, if there's more public meetings required, if there's more office personnel, if there's any submittal review, which you don't see a lot at this point unless you're doing any sort of changing in construction or using different figures, that's where the CA portion is.
Okay.
Typically, lump sum for these, it's all per diem.
Okay, all right. So is there a motion to approve a change order to DiDonato Associates for this next phase of work in the amount of $415,671 for Waterline 2020 improvements for A and B?
Denine, so moved.
Sunderland, second.
It's been motioned and properly seconded. Are there any further questions on this item? Hearing none. All in favor?
Denine, aye.
Sunderland, aye. Osworthy, aye.
Unanimous. Thank you. All right, we'll now move on to item number 8, additional services for our finished water improvement project. Mr. Merlot.
This project is a large-scale project looking at the improvements to our clear well. Part of this project is updating the chemical feed to the clear well at different locations, including corrosion control, any chemicals, including fluoride. What we've done, because of recent discussion, recent attention with health department commitments we made, we first asked, this is the Hazen contract, we asked Hazen to pull out the fluoride as a phase 1 in the design, help us get health department approval. Now we're asking them to implement that one, and then they're going to continue with phase 2. Phase 2 is the big bulk of this project, which is optimizing our clear well. We have a 30 million gallon concrete structure underneath our treatment plant, and that stores the treated chlorinated water. It's about 30 million gallons. We need to optimize the baffling in there so the whole volume gets used up, because there's some short circuiting going on, so you're not getting contact time credit. Your water has to be in contact for such a long period of time with to meet regulations. It does that with the clear well. We're fortunate to do it with other basins, but we would like to do it with our clear well. So this is going to optimize our clear well. It's really installing hatches and gates. Not that difficult of construction. The difficulty is what you have to shut down because you're doing it in your portable water. How do you dam it off? Can you do it with divers and fully disinfect? Is there construction techniques allowed in potable water? There are some, but not always. So the difficulty with this is how to do what we need to do once they decide. I need so many more hatches. I got to replace so many gates, so many valve arms. Okay, how are we going to do it now? There's the cost. How are we going to phase it? That's phase 2. Back to phase 1. This is the continuation. If you see here, the initial contract that we had budgeted had $82,000 for the fluoride implementation. And really, that was the design, the drawings, and getting permission. This is now the construction inspection, the implementation. We have an on-site inspector from Hazen working. We're meeting every 2 weeks. We're getting updates that I can share with anybody. $212,000 of that is for resident inspection services. Again, this is all per diem as needed to deliver this project. This is a little more highly intensive of management because this is a design build. We're managing these contractors. So these are available to our limit accounts. So we're expediting the submittal review process. We're basically saying things that are already on Schedule 80 PVC pipe, just build it. We know what it is, get the submittal after. The submittal are going to be the pumps, some of the more technical, the PLCs. We're working with those on the fly. So we have enough money right now to move it, but we're going to need another $316,000 at least potentially to deliver this. If we deliver fast, we don't use the hours, they come back. Again, this is per diem, but this is something I do have budgeted for these improvements. We just didn't allocate it at the time because we didn't know when we were going to get permission, how we were going to do it, what the time was going to take. So we developed that schedule, and that schedule that we developed, this is now the response to that in terms of the support services from our engineer and in the field. This is a guy working with those contractors, overseeing and making sure that that contractor is doing exactly what they're supposed to do for the plans and specs.
Yeah. So if I can summarize everything you just said.
Yes.
This is the piece forward that we knew we had to fund, which was, so you look at this roughly $290,000 out of this 316, that is construction inspection and construction administration. Like that's the bulk of this. The other is some things maybe we didn't capture or are going to be a little bit bigger as far as startup and then the as-bills and working with DOH. So that's what we're looking at here. We understand the importance of this as it relates to our project and getting that back up and running. And Hazen has been doing a great job for us, and we've asked them to do a lot in a short time frame here. So, is there any questions on this? Mhm. And so is there any further questions on this one? Okay, is there a motion to approve an increase to Hazen's contract for the amount of $316,300 for this additional effort and phase?
Sunderland, so moved.
Janine second.
The motion properly seconded. Any further questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Sunderland, aye.
Janine, I.
Bosworthy, aye.
Unanimous. Thank you. We'll now move to item number 9, water quality risk assessment. Mr. Merlo?
Thank you, Chairman. Peter Merlo, Secretary to the Board, Principal Engineer. This is, we call it a water quality risk assessment. I call it emerging contaminants. I was kind of explaining of why, as the person that's going to be here much longer after I retire, this is going to be, I think, the future challenge of the water system. I don't believe climate change, whatever you want to call it, I don't believe it's going to adversely affect our water levels. I think quantity is not going to be an issue, but we'll see. I think warmer temperatures have the greater possibility of adversely affecting the quality of that incoming water. Warmer temperatures, different bacteria, different growths. Now we're already seeing blue-green algae at times. We're very lucky where we are hydraulically that we're last on that list that when it exposes, but still you have those cyanotoxins that come out. You also potentially have microplastics. You have low-level pharmaceuticals, PFAS, a lot of emergency contaminants that we're been talking about. So we're looking at some tools that we can build as a board and construct. You have always been proactive. You built backup power. You're building hypochlorite. You're doing this not because we have to have it operationally. It gives us redundancy in the operation and process of this another area. So this is the first step. We picked GHD because they have an intimate knowledge of our operation. This is very important. Picking the technology is one thing, and Stephen Walvold, I'll let him talk. He's been kind of an expert in the industry in terms of speaking at these, especially blue-green algae, emerging contaminants. So you blend his knowledge of what's out there with our ability and how to implement it, because we have 2 effluent streams we have to treat. That makes it challenging because you can't put one piece of equipment to treat it all. And where do you put that? So how we do that and what we use, I think activated carbon, if you want to know what that is a very excellent treatability in terms of removing a variety of contaminants. It absorbs contaminants, it absorbs a variety of contaminants. The problem is, how do you use it? Can you drop it in a basin and remove it? Can you build columns? So this looks at kind of the whole picture, and we'll update the board in terms of where we are. Work hand in hand with Veolia in terms of looking at this. But I think ultimately, if you ask me, I want to build something. You know, all the talk is great. Let's figure out what we want to build so we can get that belt and suspenders going, because, you know, I can't stop Mother Nature. So this is the first step in that process.
So, hey, may I ask a couple questions on this one? So my understanding of what we're going to be getting here is a technical memo, really kind of identifying threats as well as potential solutions and a high level opinion of probable cause, right?
Right, and tools, treatment methods that are both, that give you a lot of options.
Yeah.
And
That may give us multiple options.
multiple options, and can
What
be
we're going to be using.
built and used in our facility in a way that's practical.
Right?
Yes, I think that's one you're gonna see somewhere somehow. Is there something in addition? I don't know if there's gonna be a technology that you replace activated carbon.
Yeah.
I think that could be part of your treatment tool. Where do you put it? How do you do it? And then is there other tools on top of it?
All right. So okay,
Other
I see
advanced
O&M as
oxidation
well.
processes you want to consider? I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
know.
no.
Steven, I don't want to take your thunder. I don't know.
All
if you
right,
wanna
Steve, let's
talk.
hear it. Don't say RO. Go.
Yeah. You can treat seawater.
I think,
All right. You're up.
I think for the most part, enough has been said.
You're welcome.
There are 3 primary phases of this analysis. The first one is to look at your source water and to attempt to forecast what the risks might be to your source water quality. Then, given those risks,
So Steve, are you predicting, like, are you going back to Toledo, right? And are we just going to say that, hey, what's happening there is going to eventually slide down this way?
That's a possibility. As Peter mentioned, the conditions on this end of the lake are different. However, as climate change and other changes occur, it's increasing the likelihood that you could face something similar. It's probably not as prolonged, but those are the types of questions or risks that we want to try to evaluate. The one risk that you have obviously been experiencing is the intensity and frequency of storms. And so you've proactively addressed that, or you're in the midst of addressing that. But as the water quality changes, the other dynamic to this is the regulators are also changing. So not only is the water quality maybe worsening, but the regulators are getting more strict. And so we'll be looking at the regulatory trends. We'll look at the contaminant candidate list over the last few cycles and what's on the list right now, how those might impact your permit and what you put out to your customers. So that's the risk assessment from a water quality standpoint. The second phase will then assess the existing system and how well suited it is to treat any of those emerging contaminants. Probably in all likelihood, the conventional processes that you have in place won't be well suited for all of those emerging contaminants. So then the third phase will look at what types of technologies might you consider that will effectively target certain families or categories of contaminants. And then ideally, we find some overlapping technologies that can handle multiple types of contaminants or risks. One of the things that Peter mentioned as tools, I think, which will position you better for the future, is that we will prepare for your use a process model. So for all of your primary processes, we will develop a simulation which will look at their effectiveness at removing contaminants so that you can simulate different scenarios in the future. And so that's something
So we're
that
going to get a digital twin? We're going to get a digital twin?
The second tool is a form of digital twin. We'll call it the terminology in the industry now is changing because digital twin means different things to different people. What it's being called now is a digital twin online, which is essentially a single point of reference for all as-is conditions of your plant and a tie-in to any relevant modeling or other process-related elements. So, for instance, it will be a 3D visualization, so you can see your whole facility in a 3D version, and then it will link to the process model that we will build and provide for you as well. You may choose in the future to link that to your hydraulic model or any of the computational hydraulics that Hazen has done, so that you have a single point of reference for all of that. That's the intention of it. So you will have this digital twin online, and you can add to that moving forward in years to come.
Okay. All right, thank you. Board, do you have any further questions on this one? Peter, Stephen, thank you.
So the total cost is 293.
Right.
Yes.
So we are looking for a approval of a contract for professional services in the amount of $293,700. And that is for the work as described by our principal engineer, that will effectively give us a way to evaluate potential threats, regulatory changes, as well as our own treatment capacity to kind of thwart those effects as it relates to climate and regulatory pieces. So is there a motion to approve?
Denine, so moved.
Sunderland, second.
The motion is properly seconded. Any further questions on this? Hearing none, all in favor?
Denine, aye.
Sunderland, aye. Nosworthy, aye.
Unanimous, thank you. We'll now move on to item number 10. Thanks, Stephen. We'll now move on to item number 10, Kensington Tank Rehab, CA and RI. Mr. Merlo?
Yes, thank you. Peter Merlo, Principal Engineer and Secretary to the Board. This is for a contract that we are currently finalizing. We had a bid. This has been our capital plan. This is the phase 2 of Kensington Tank Rehabilitation. That is the tank that's currently at Kensington and Grider. It's not labeled historic structure, but you ask anybody in the neighborhood, it's an historic structure. So, and the tank currently is out of service. We're looking to replace that tank, including the ferry tank, and looking to increase, and that study is coming. So right now, that board still wants to keep that in the neighborhood. We're not sure what they're ultimately going to do with that asset. So my direction was, let's stabilize that facility, that structure right now, so we have time to make a decision without taking that down, without properly working with the neighborhood. We won't know what the future that, so let's stabilize it. Phase 1 was a new roof. That was completed. This is phase 2. This is the brick. This is everything outside. This is the vestibule that failed, that really started a lot of this. So this is, at the end of the day, will be buttoned up, looking good, remove the fencing, and then we go back to maintaining that property. So this is really the phase 2 of structural stabilization. We have a contractor. This is the resident inspection, hourly out there for whatever services. We have some coding asbestos if it comes up, but most of it is the bulk of it is going to be the resident inspection, managing that contract out there. Very similar to the Kensington or Grider.
Not Grider, but
Grover. See, they Kensington Grover, they throw Grider in there again.
Grover.
We did the same thing with Grover Tank. We stabilized the exterior of that. We've updated the pumping equipment inside, so that facility has bought us some time again to make a decision. What does that facility hold in the future? Is that the asset in perpetuity, or are we looking to potentially replace that as we look to increase the pressure in certain areas of the city? Both of these projects bought us time. I think I asked for projects that give us an extended 10-year useful life, because I had to give a marker. If I want 50 years, you're going to spend a lot more money.
Understood. Okay, thank you very much, Steve. Board, so we are seeking a contract for construction support, inspection, and administration with GPI, as recommended by our principal engineer, in the amount of $175,000. Is there a motion to approve?
Janine, so moved.
Sunderland, second.
The motion and properly seconded. Any further questions? Hearing none. All in favor?
Janine, aye.
Sunderland, aye. Oswald, aye.
Unanimous. Thank you very much. We'll now move on to item number 11, various South project for time extension for that one. Mr. Merlo.
Yes, thank you. Peter Merlo, Secretary of the Board, Principal Engineer, Division of Water. This is really the 4th contract. There's 4 contracts that we have managing our distribution program. Again, that program is $25 million between the 4 projects. This is the 4th one. This is in the Central Terminal area. Or no, this is south. This is on Abbey Street and in that location.
Right.
Yes. So we're looking for increased inspection services to continue. That's going to be the subsequent. But the first was, let's get the contract extended to an appropriate date, and that is we're looking to extend that to September 30th, 2024.
Okay. Is that going to push any of our stuff, or are we going to be all right with that?
No, actually, this contract had a little more time in it for construction length. So the extension is only several months versus the whole season. So we anticipated some spring construction, but so we're pushing it out. To be honest, we expected, and initially I asked our consultants to give, in the beginning, we weren't sure how long pipe materials were going to take. So we wanted to allow contract times to allow for those orders that they got hung up for months. So I had told them, let's put extended contract times, but our consultants were a little leery about giving them too much. So some of them gave them more leeway than others. What we've done is align them all now to this construction season through these actions, contract extensions.
September 30th.
That's why each one is a little bit different amount of CI, because each contract had a different contract length to it by a month or two. So, but they're still about 200,000 plus or minus per contract that you're going to typically spend. Just that's what the cost is around.
So board, is there a motion to approve a no-cost time extension for our 2021 water system improvement projects south for work being done by Destro Brothers.
This isn't a no cost.
No cost.
No, it isn't.
No,
No.
it's a no cost to this contract for the item,
Yeah,
but the cost is to an additional contract. So
Yeah.
in spirit, you're correct. In letter of the law, this is no cost for this particular item.
For this particular item, no cost. And the next one we'll get into cost. So let's talk about them both together. Then. Sorry.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Do we want to approve the various?
We will come back to it.
Okay.
But this one is for what you're saying is Labella, right? For the engineer. CS.
I was talking about both at the same
Yeah,
time.
that's all right. To really cover the cost of the design, not design, but, well, design and everything else for Durant.
That
But
was the
also
additional
CI, for the entire project, right? So let's
That's
talk
correct.
about Durant.
Yeah. In this project, there is a potential to have enough funding that would cause difficulty with the contractors. So we wanted to make sure we had ways and means to utilize this funding. We also don't want to remove in case we have something that happens that all of a sudden costs us a lot more than we expected. That's what this is available to do. But we want to position ourselves. And the first thing is to get another street design and approved by the health department. I can't give additional work the health department has approved. So if we don't do it now, I have a design on the shelf. So this money is still well spent. So we picked a location, right?
These are streets on our.
They're on our current capital list, so we have plenty, so we're just moving them down. We have an allocation of 25 million for our next bond sale. I currently have $30 million we're gonna design around, so really, there's gonna be more coming. So we're always gonna be chasing our water lines. So let's push. So if there's an opportunity not to waste money, but again, we're gonna at least get the design, put ourselves in position. If all of a sudden the consultant feels we can release them to do this, great. But either way, we want to maximize our contracts or at least get close enough that it's within reason. Because if you're less than 25% of an item, they have the right to come back. And we don't want to get there, we're arguing with our contractors, you know,
So we're trying to make sure that we're maximizing.
if we can minimize it. We argue with them, but, minimize it.
We're trying to maximize our amount of funding on this one as well.
Right, yeah, and this is a lot of, and these are locations that qualify for the ARPA funding that is funding a good portion. Excellent point, Chairman. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so now we have these two items. This one that we're now discussing is for cost increase to LaBelle's contract, who is overseeing this project. So it includes a little bit of design here for Durant Street, some environmental work we talked about, as well, in the majority of it, of this $150,299.28 is construction observation. 106,000 of that is that, and that is a not to exceed piece on that. So, so what we're looking for is two items, right? One is you're recommending a request from Labella for $150,299.28. And then the one before is technically a no cost time extension for Destro, right? Okay, so we'll take we'll take item number 10 first.
11.
You want to take 11 first?
Well, we already did
Yeah,
10.
sorry, we did 10. So we'll take item number 11 first. Item number 11 is a no-cost time extension to September 30th for Destro Brothers as recommended by Labella and in concurrence with our principal engineer. Is there a motion to approve?
Sunderland, so moved.
Denine second.
The motion properly seconded. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Sunderland, aye.
Denine, aye.
Bosworthy, aye.
Unanimous, thank you. Now we will pick up item number 12, which is a motion to approve a contract change order for Labella in the amount of $150,299.28 for construction, administration, observation, as well as design services for Durant and some environmental. Is there a motion to approve?
Denine so moved.
Sunderland, second.
The motion properly seconded. Any questions? All right, hearing no further questions. Motion to approve?
Denine so moved.
Sunderland, second.
Ayes. I was gonna say ayes. You guys
Threw me off.
You did good, man. All right. All in favor? I screwed it up. That's on me. All in favor?
Denine, aye.
Sunderland, aye.
Unanimous. All right. Sorry about that. We're getting late. All right. Now we'll move on to item number 13, monthly report from GHD. 8 minutes, guys. That includes David and Doug. Go ahead.
Yes, okay, so very quickly, I have a couple things to mention, then I'll turn it over to John and Dustin. Last week was the final date to receive comments on the bill funding. And reviewing the list, it looks like Buffalo Water is in a position to receive the funding. That would be for about $11.5 million of lead service line replacements. They haven't made the announcement yet official, but just kind of looking at where you sit on the list and how much money is available, we're optimistic that you'll receive that funding. Second, I will be speaking later this afternoon at the Great Lakes and St. Lawrence Cities Initiative about your equity and how you're using equity for your lead service line replacement program. Due in large part to OJ's efforts and some of what Veolia has been doing, Buffalo Water is being recognized across the nation for leading the way in a number of these areas. And so we've been invited to give a brief presentation at that conference later today. There's about, I would say, 40 or 50 Great Lakes cities that will be sitting in on that, trying to learn from what you all are doing in Buffalo. So I'll turn it over to John and then Dustin.
Before they jump in, Stephen, can you just tell me the timing on that $11.5 million? This is Lisa. Thank you.
No, I can't. It's New York State. And so
of course,
we anticipated the award announcements at the end of last year.
okay.
In January, they issued an addendum to the intended use plan, which provided the listing and the scoring. They gave an extra 2 months for comments, so that comment period is now ended. And now we're just waiting for them to finalize it and make it an official award. Upon award, it may take some months beyond that even to get a contract in place.
So we're looking at next fiscal year. Certainly next
yeah.
fiscal year.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, thank you.
Lisa, this is Peter. I meant to have the discussion, but I think I missed you last time, Ray. Lisa and Ray, just want to make sure I put you two in contact on the revenue side. I know, Lisa, you ultimately work hand in hand. I just want to make sure that we're meeting any timetables, because I know the department's submission for the budget, we inputted the expenditures already. We followed up directly. I just want to make sure you guys are, so it sounds like you're on it.
If you could send me, Peter, if you could send me what you sent over, and Bill and I have been meeting, and we will be meeting in the next week or so. So we will certainly wrap that up as well. If you could send me what you sent to Ray, or Ray, if you could forward it to me.
And I'll work with Bonnie and Kellyanne to get the personnel side, because we have a double. It's the 5300 and the 5301 and 02 series. So you need a copy of all three expenditures. I'll copy you on the email. We're going to loop everything together to make sure we get that discussion. Yeah, we're still on time with everything. Okay, good.
Thank you, Peter.
Oh, thank you. Sorry.
Oh, it's all good. Hey, John Davis with GHD. I apologize in advance if my internet drops off here, but I'm having some troubles here. But just an update on the public relations and community engagement side. We pitched a news story idea to WGRZ to highlight Buffalo Water for International Day of Women and Girls in Science. We landed the media coverage, which featured Buffalo Water's team of female chemists. The news story highlighted the ladies and their careers, along with the great work they're doing to ensure Buffalo Water's safe to drink for everyone. We engaged Veolia and Buffalo Water to help produce a press release to announce that Buffalo Water has helped customers receive $15 million in water bill assistance through affordable water programs. Both news stories garnered a total local TV audience of 39,853 and a total online news audience of 29,889. The publicity value for the month of February is about $7,323. Just to let you know, publicity value represents the cost to advertise for that medium, for that specific time, program, and or platform, multiplied by the number of people who viewed the mention, okay? We also have identified 4 city locations for Get Water Wise billboard posters to help reinforce taking the survey. We anticipate them being up before the end of March, but we're still working on that. The location for posters are North Buffalo on 1851 Elmwood, South Buffalo on 1475 Seneca Street, East Buffalo on 1940 Fillmore, and West Buffalo on 1433 Niagara. That's all for me. I'll turn it over to Ryan unless you have any questions.
Dustin,
I think
Dustin.
it's Dustin, but that's okay. Hi, Dustin, GHD. Thank you, Board Commissioner. Quick couple updates on capital and some other maintenance Veolia issues as well. We're meeting later today. GHD electrical engineer, myself, Fry Electric, Peter's capital improvement contractor on the electrical upgrades at Colonel Ward. We have to discuss some as your board, as your retained engineer, we're assisting Mike Carson with testing some existing electrical systems that were just recently repaired through your limit accounts. And we are then also going to be discussing the upcoming scheduling of the remaining efforts to complete the electrical upgrades contract. Also, we have begun the long-awaited berm project. We have moved the Mafia blocks to the west side of Amvets Drive. We have your temporary construction fence up, and we have begun and completed about 25% of the drainage for the surface water collection on top of the clear well. And I also continue to represent you at the weekly meetings associated with the Ralph Wilson Centennial Park project. That's all I have, folks. Thank you.
That's all right now, OJ. If there's any questions, we'd be happy to take them.
Okay. Any questions, board? All right, hearing none. Mr. Hill?
Yes, David Hill, Project Manager, Veolia. 0 minutes.
Take what you need, man. Take what you need.
Had a lot of business today.
No, I think GHD pretty much summarized most of the activity going on around here. But I did want to mention to the board, we have started bi-weekly process meetings where Peter and I run the meeting. It's coming up here in a few minutes. We engage with the operations team down there just sheerly due to the amount of capital work and ongoing O&M work. And we need to be very clear in what we're doing and how we're doing it and communicate it properly to the operator so there is no impact. So we are doing a concerted effort every 2 weeks, and we are going over what impacted the plant the previous 2 weeks and what could impact the plant in the course of the coming 2 weeks. Very useful discussion, and we've got a lot of things and eliminate a lot of potential.
I agree. Thank you.
Issues in advance. So that's been going well. I just wanted to add on a closing note, limit accounts. I wanted to review those. It appears, let's see, specialty maintenance, that's on page 13, is the only one nearing additional funding. It's currently nearly at 80%. 952,000 out of 1.2 million. So we're going to have to go back, Doug, if you're on air, have to go back and take a look at where we're at and what's coming on this account. Talk about it next month at the board meeting. The rest of them, they look good.
All right. One question for you. On the specialty preventive maintenance, we really approved 1.2 million in 1 cent.
Oh.
Just messing with you. All right, move on. No. Okay. That's what it is. That's the serious. All right, so we're at about 80%, and here we are. We're about to be in March, so we definitely need to take a look at that. So Doug, that would be appreciated, just so the board knows.
We did add some money to that from the beginning of the year. That was at 500,000.
Yeah,
So we did add some money.
Yes. Yes. It's not that extra penny.
That was a rounding.
All right.
That's it, Chairman.
All right. Thank you
Doug,
very much.
do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, I'm all set, Dave. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, Doug. David, thank you very much, guys. Okay, well, we've heard from everyone. Is there anything else, board, that you had questions on?
Next meeting.
All right, next meeting, we are in March.
March 14th.
March 14th?
Yes, sir.
Boom, 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 March 14th, that's what I have.
You're gonna be here?
I got it, yeah. Oh, Jerry's not here, this is Jerry this time.
Oh, Jared yelling.
Board members?
14th, we're good? All right, next meeting will be March 14th, 9 a.m. at Colonel Ward. We do welcome everyone to be in attendance, and we thank you all for today and all your participation. And with that, is there a motion to adjourn?
Janine, so moved.
Nasworthy seconded.
The motion properly seconded. And no further questions. All in favor?
Janine, aye.
I'm Nasworthy, aye.
Sunderland, aye.
Unanimous. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you, everybody. That concludes today's meeting.